Hi everyone, today is the second part of the carpentry video. First part, we built this tunnel. It took us a little bit of time, and today we're going to see how to install this window in the tunnel. It also works for bay windows, whether they're made of plastic, aluminum or wood. Hi, I'm Julien Malara, and this is my house container. This tutorial will be useful for everyone. Let's get started. I'm 26 years old, I have no experience in do-it-yourself, but I set myself the crazy challenge of building an eco-friendly and affordable house. I'm also trying to develop my resilience and live in harmony with nature. I'm recording this and uploading it to my channel. Subscribe to follow the adventure. First step, we'll have to remove our windows from the frame. More technically speaking, our sashes from the casing. To do that first step, we're going to screw in the handle. There we go. Our handle is attached. It's facing the right way. That's good. Now, we're going to open our windows. I'm going to remove the left part first. And to remove the left sash is going to be very simple. I take it, I lift it up, and it's removed. Nothing complicated for the right part. However, it's going to be a bit more technical, because first I need to remove the covers. There are white covers all over it. On top, I've removed my covers. But since it's a tilt and turn window here, I'll have to lower a small rod to be able to remove my window. So I come with a small screwdriver. There we go, we lower this pin all the way down. Once this pin is down, I can remove my window at the bottom. I lift it up. And we've separated our sashes from our frame. Now that we've removed the sashes, we can take the frame and see if it fits into our opening. With oriented strand board, we've calculated everything correctly and it fits perfectly. I've never installed a window this perfectly before. During this shoot, there are about 7 millimeters on each side. Perfect. We're going to remove this frame and we're going to put it all around. A sealing strip, including tape, which will be 3 millimeters and will expand, so it will fill the gaps all over the place. Let's go. We're going to do this again inside to put the sealing strip. I'm going to start at the top of the window. I'll go all the way around and come back here. I start at the top. Why? Because at the top, just like with the rain barrier, that's where there are the least problems with water infiltration. I'll make my joint here. Be cautious, as the compressible strip ranges from 3 to 7 millimeters, starting at 3. It expands to 7 actually. It expands much more than 7, and it expands very quickly. So here I saw that I had a good 5 to 7 millimeters of space everywhere. So I'm going to put it all around, I'm going to place it inside and it will fill in. I have a bit of time. That's why I told you it was better to leave a bit more margin, because this packing actually will fill the hole very quickly. And I'm going to place it around the outside edge of the window so that it creates a seal from the outside to the inside. But that, I'm not sure if it's really super important. What I do know is important is that when I start to put it on, I have to go really fast. All right, here we go. So now I'm installing my sealing tape on the window flap, and I'm careful not to pull it too much when I put it on. The goal isn't for it to be stretched, it's for it to have room to expand. Same thing here. In the corner, I'm going to make a little bulge. I'll leave it some space. Same thing, it should never be under tension. And now I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to hurry up because it's swelling. The sealing strip. It's good, my sealing strip is installed. Now my frame fits in a bit more tightly. I put the top in first. The rain barrier is a bit of a pain, that's normal. I'm pressing it in almost to the limit. Use spatulas to reposition the rain barrier underneath. There you go, just like that. On the other side, my frame is good. I'll be able to put in screws and finish installing the window. Once my frame is in place, with my order, I bought a bucket of window shims. Normally you're supposed to put them everywhere, but I don't really need them much. Except for the bottom, I'm still gonna put 5mm shims under the bottom of the frame. That will allow me to balance it out later, and most importantly, it will let the shims expand properly and not be too compressed. Exactly. So I'm adding 2-3 of them, and if needed, I'll just remove them later, or I might just leave them underneath and put my sealant joint on top. So let me recap. We have our frame properly installed. It has its compressible foam that filled the gaps. We put shims underneath so the foam can decompress more easily. Now what needs to be done? We need to screw this onto our oriented strand board frame. First step, we align it flush with our frame, with our tunnel. Here is our frame flush with our tunnel. And we're going to screw it in. With adjustable screws, it's really important that you buy adjustable screws because they are lifesavers. They're essential. The idea is that the screw is threaded on one half and on the other half. There are like flanges, and when I put my screw into the wood, these flanges will allow me to move forward or backward. My frame allows for precise adjustments, which you'll quickly realize is crucial. I must emphasize this point again. I struggled many times because I didn't have this at the beginning. These screws changed my life. For installing joinery, I'm sponsored by adjustable screws. A little tip for screwing in these screws. On the left, I have 2 oriented strand boards, so it's going to go in like butter. On the right, I only have 1, so I'll hit my metal reinforcement on the side. So I'm going to pre-drill my wood and my metal tube first. Before putting in this screw to have enough depth, I just screwed in my screw. I clearly heard the click, which means it's in, and now you'll see. If I unscrew, you see that it moves the frame, and if I screw it back in, it moves the frame again. So now, I'll be able to put in my panels and adjust these 4 screws until the panels are perfectly aligned. Next step, I'll start by putting back the left panel, because that's the easiest one I have. I just have to snap it onto the 3 hinges. There we go, that's done. And then the right rod. This one will be more complicated, especially since it's a tilt and turn. I first put it down on the rod, the window holds, I place the top and I lift up the little iron bar. And once that's lifted up, both of my sashes are installed. Now that I've put my sashes back, I check that my windows close properly and that they don't rub at the bottom or at the top. Same for the second one. And I check that they're properly aligned. Here, let's say the right window rubs at the bottom and it's lower than the left window, so it's a bit lower. I'll have to tighten my screw at the top right to pull the frame. Actually, the 4 screws you put in will help you adjust the window frames to ensure proper alignment and prevent rubbing. So, another example, if my left window rubs at the top, then I'll have to screw at the bottom, because by screwing at the bottom, the whole frame will move. So it's up to you to screw or unscrew as needed. to try to find the right adjustment so that your window closes perfectly. You'll see that even if you've installed your window as perfectly as possible, it can take quite a bit of time to find the right setting. Don't panic. The tip I can give you is to unscrew the 4 adjustment screws you installed as much as possible, then screw them back in little by little to find the right setting. Never deform the frame too much, because if you tighten one of the screws too much, it will deform the frame. If the frame is deformed, your window won't close properly. There you go! Make these adjustments gradually, which is crucial, without ever deforming the frame. It takes time, but it's not that complicated. Now that the window is straight and I've made all my adjustments, I can put in the last screws. So we already put 2 on the left, 2 on the right. I'm going to add 2 more on the left, 2 more on the right, and 2 at the top for a total of 10 screws altogether. And I always use my adjustable screws because they're very convenient for readjusting later if needed. Careful, when I screw into the frame, I don't want the frame to get deformed. I spent a lot of time making sure it's straight, that my window fits well, so I really don't want to deform it. So what I'm going to do is put a shim between the oriented strand board tunnel and the frame, then screw my screw through the shim, like TAC. That way I won't deform the frame. Careful, you never screw under the window. Why? Because if there's ever a water leak, like when it rains, the water will come out through the window frame. But if there are screws, the water will go through the screw and get into the insulation. If you really want to secure the bottom of your window, you can either screw it in from underneath, that's what I did, or you can use a polyurethane adhesive to seal and glue the bottom of your window, but never ever screw the bottom. Isn't that right, Bruno? There you go, that's the little tip and a friendly jab at a friend. And there you go, your window is now properly installed. The handles close properly, there's no rubbing at the top, no rubbing at the bottom, it's aligned, everything is neat. But before you enjoy it, make sure to remove the protective plastic that's on the windows, because you'll be tempted to leave it on during your work. But absolutely not. Because the sun, especially the ultraviolet rays, will melt that plastic and embed it into the polyvinyl chloride of the window. And it will be super annoying to remove, so make sure to take it off. That way, your window will look nice and clean and you can finally enjoy the moment after throwing up blood. Yes, because you'll have dealt with 1001 unexpected problems, but that's all behind you now. You have a nice window to gaze out of in a melancholic manner. There you go. When I say you'll have vomited blood, really, it's because, as usual on a construction site, nothing ever goes as planned. By the way, for those of you who are more observant, you may have noticed that we're filming the end of this video several days after the beginning. #hairdresser. Why? Because we had to deal with several unexpected events, and installing a window, dealing with the unexpected, that's one thing. But on top of that, filming all of it and explaining to you how to do it, that's another thing. It's a lot more of a hassle. So really, I have to ask you to subscribe to this channel to reward us a bit for all the effort we put into this video. We filmed inside containers during a heat wave. Please subscribe and hit the bell. Everything counts. If you can support us on Typee so we can keep filming and keep bringing you content. Continuing the work on this container house would be awesome. The Typee link is in the description, so please support it. It helps us a lot, and the heat wave is over, but we're still going to have a tough time, so I'll give you 2 minutes, go ahead. In terms of time, if you don't plan on filming the installation of your windows, it should take you about a day for one window, from cutting the container to installation and up to the finishing seal, and a full day for installing a bay window. By the way, I suggest we finish this installation part before talking about the seals. We'll see that in a moment, but let's finish with a time lapse of the installation of one of the bay windows. That will help summarize everything we've seen together, each step, and especially show how the bay windows are. Super classy. And we finished this carpentry project with a step that looks very easy when you watch YouTube tutorials, but is hellish when you have to do it yourself. The caulking joints. The goal is going to be to create a sealant joint. First, between the container and the oriented strand board tunnel here, then between my oriented strand board panels, and finally between my oriented strand board tunnel and my window frame. We got it taped, but that's not enough. We're still going to add a silicone seal all around. After finishing the interior seals, I start again on the exterior. It's a time-consuming process. For the sealant, I decided to use a regular silicone sealant that costs €3 for the inside. However, for the outside, I use Sikaflex, which is a pretty well-known brand. It's actually a polyurethane sealant, which is much more resistant to ultraviolet and bad weather, and it's also much more difficult to apply. That's why I was telling you it's a nightmare, because so far I've only used Sika silicone, which should be easier. Don't judge the beauty of my joints, because anyway, you won't see my joints. I'll put a finishing corner trim on top afterwards. So there you go. I don't need to make perfect joints. I just need to make joints that are insulating enough, watertight enough. So let's go. I'm preparing a glass of water with some dish soap in it. This will be for smoothing my joint. And why dish soap? Because that's what will allow me to smooth the joint without it sticking to my fingers. Even though I'm wearing gloves, gloves are important because putty takes a really long time to come off. It's really hard to get rid of. It took me 2 days to wash my hands and scrub like crazy to finally get it off. So, gloves, a glass of water with dish soap. I cut my tube of putty to the width I want. Here, I'm going to make a pretty thin bead, so I chose a thin one, and here we go. I start applying all of it. And once it's applied, I dip my glove in the soapy water and smooth out my bead. Before the bead dries, I take advantage of the moment with a little paper towel to wipe away anything that overflowed. Once again, this will be hidden by my finishing, but it's always good if it's clean underneath. Like I was telling you earlier, I don't really care if my joints look nice or not, because anyway, everything will be hidden by a finishing trim. But if that's not the case, make sure to get some acrylic caulk so you can paint over it. And you can use painter's tape, put it here and there. Apply your caulk in the middle, then remove both pieces of tape at the end, and you'll have a joint that's perfectly straight and very clean. There you go, and that saves you from having to clean the window every time you go a little over the edge. On the sides, I had about 1 to 2 millimeters of gap between the container and my oriented strand board tunnel. So it fills in well with a sealant. However, for the top of my window, as you can see, I have about 1 centimeter of gap. So I'm not going to fill that with sealant. I'm going to fill it with expanding polyurethane foam, which will act as a sealant. The advantage is that I'll press it from the outside. It will expand, go through the hole and overflow inside. All I'll have to do is cut off the excess that came through, and I'll have filled my hole by several centimeters. To make sure the foam sticks well, I wipe it with a damp sponge, and that's it. I shake it well, and here we go. Okay, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I applied my polyurethane foam from the outside. Now I'm waiting a few hours for it to expand well inside and for it to dry. I'm going to come and cut off the excess with a utility knife, and then I'll either see that it's enough or I'll redo a seal on top just to be safe. But normally, the polyurethane foam alone is enough. Anyway, there will be insulation on top of it. So I'd say normally it should be fine. But there you go, we've finished all the steps for installing a window, and it's the same steps for a patio door. And that's it, this job is done. I finally don't need to open and close my big container doors anymore to get inside. Because I have beautiful patio doors, and soon I'll need to install the front door as well. In the same way I installed my windows and my patio doors, by the way. And for those who are wondering, my patio doors and windows are standard sizes. I paid 900 euros per patio door, 150 euros per window, for a total of 3,300 euros for all the windows and patio doors. So there you go, it's one of the major expenses of my project, but it's worth it now. The next project will be building the wooden framework on all the walls of the house and constructing the structure that will hold the insulation, both for the walls and the roof, then the wood cladding and the green roof. That way, before winter, I'll be nice and warm and I can continue my work inside the house, but that's another story. Remember to subscribe to stay updated on upcoming projects. Thanks for watching. This was Julien. See you in 2 weeks.